Wealth doesn't suddenly happen to you. It's built step by step. Hey, good morning from Miami. Good afternoon, good evening from wherever else you are in the world. Randy Gage here. And through the miracle of modern technology, I am appearing to you from Miami. However, at this exact moment in the space-time continuum, I am probably sitting at the gate in the Sioux Falls Airport in South Dakota, waiting for my flight to take off. So I've gone ahead and recorded this week's prosperity service, sent it along to Paula Zaragoza and the Crack Commando team with her and Jose Lopez and Jorge Melendez. And they will be sharing it with you at the same bat time, same bat channel. If you're here for the first time, welcome. We call this the Prosperity Unchurch. It's not a religion. It's not a church. It's just kind of a thought experiment I'm conducting to do a weekly service with based on the principles of prosperity, free enterprise, and generosity. And so I'm trying to model the free enterprise behavior that we're teaching every week. So do me a favor and just check in on the comments if you haven't. I will watch these once I land. I'll look and see everything you guys wrote. And I'm going to also ask you guys on the replays. We put this up on the Prosperity TV YouTube channel every Monday night. And we also put it up every Monday morning on my Power Prosperity podcast. So do me a favor and like and subscribe and share the show with your friends. We're trying to circulate this message of prosperity out there into the universe. Let's begin by checking the homework from last week, because I do usually give you guys assignments to really work on this stuff so that, you know, I didn't want to create a talking head video series. I'm really trying to create transformational lessons that can make a difference in your life. And I think this topic this week is especially strong in that area. But last week was as well. We talked about goal setting and goal getting, actually achieving the goals. So I gave you 3 assignments, and I asked you, would you be willing to be accountable and set these goals and then report back on them this week? So I'm going to ask you to do that for the first one in the chat right now. The homework number 1 or assignment number 1 was set an activity goal that you'll be accountable for today in this lesson. Now, if you weren't on the show last week, the idea of an activity goal is that's a goal you can control. You say, I'm going to sell 10 vacuum cleaners. Well, you don't really control that because you can't control who decides or not to buy your vacuum cleaners. But if you say, I'm going to make 10 presentations to prospective clients about my vacuum cleaners, that's an activity goal. And you can have total control over that, or almost total control. So if you would, in the comments, if you would be accountable, let us know what was the activity goal that you set for yourself last week and how did you do? And again, I am going to read all these comments and I'll be back live the following week to chat with you about it. So please participate with us here. Assignment number 2 was set an empowering goal that you would be accountable for in today's lesson. So the idea of empowering goals is that, you know, if you set a goal, I'm going to become fluent in French, that empowers you. When you achieve that goal, you're a higher version of yourself. If you set a goal to learn how to play the piano, you become a higher version of yourself. You are empowered by the simple process of achieving that goal. So again, in the comments, please don't leave me hanging here. I want to come back and read these. I know I'm not there live at the moment, but I'll be reading them. And I really hope you will share with the community, because that's really what this is about. We create a prosperity mastermind here every week by what we're doing here. So, and then finally, the third assignment I gave you last week was set a goal that you can't achieve as the person you are right now. Okay, I just needed to check. I thought I didn't turn on the recording. I was about to get hysterical. Okay, yes, I see recording going on. All right, so a goal that you can't achieve as the person you are right now. So meaning, I love, these are my favorite kind of goals, is because they're like those empowering goals toward, to the highest power. They force you to become a better person to achieve them. So I don't expect that you've achieved this goal, but if you're willing to share publicly what that goal is, that will make you, that you can't achieve as the person you are now, if you're willing to share that, please put that in the comments. All right, so let's jump to the new lesson, creating wealth step by step. Now, I have to, just due to the subject nature, it's really important that I share this legal disclaimer. I am not giving investment advice or financial planning advice. I am not licensed or authorized to do that. If you don't know my story, I'm a high school dropout. So I don't claim to have any degrees. I don't claim to have any certification. I'm not giving financial or legal advice. I encourage you and beseech you to get professional advice with accountants and financial planners and licensed investment professionals. That's not what I do. What I do is teach the principles of prosperity. So I want to share what the process looks like to create wealth. Again, getting really practical from a step-by-step level. Now, really important distinction. Yes, I'm being practical, but you've got to understand the nature of this topic is quite complex. So in this little bit of time we have together, I can't give you how to do everything. What I can give, instead of how to do, I'm going to give you what to do. And then I'm going to share with you some resources where you can double click, take a deeper dive, and learn how to do it. So some lessons we can just jump right to the juicy how-to parts. This one is so complex, we really can't do that. It wouldn't be fair. I mean, I would need a 15-hour video to do it justice. So I'm going to give you 10 important what to do steps. And the first two are what I'm going to call the preparation steps. Okay, so think of them as the mindset thing, and just know I'm not being woo-woo and abstract and avoiding the really important subject. I am zeroing in on the most important subject, which is you have to prepare yourself to become wealthy. Because if you don't, you will sabotage yourself. You will sabotage the wealth, the prosperity, the health, the harmony that you create. That's the nature of the beast, the human animal. So step number one is give yourself permission to be wealthy. And somebody, if you would, tap these along and type them along in the comments. So step number one, give yourself permission to be wealthy. I wrote a 5-book series on prosperity back in the day, and people always say, well, which one should I read first? And I always suggest they read the purple volume first, which is the one titled Accept your abundance. Because here's the thing you've got to understand about prosperity. You can't be treated for prosperity. You have to be open to receive it. Let me say that again. You can't be treated for prosperity. You have to be open to receive it. And this is one of those timeless truths that Emily Cady, Reverend Eric Butterworth really drilled into me at an early stage of my life, that this was not a medical condition you got treated for. It's a poverty consciousness is a state of mind. It's a state of being. And prosperity consciousness is a state of being. And the having money and material things wealth isn't about having money and material things. It's about having prosperity consciousness. And poverty isn't even an absence of money and material things. It's also a state of consciousness. This is why you see people win $60 million in the lottery, and 2 years later, they're broke, alcoholic, homeless, miserable, or dead, because they didn't develop the prosperity consciousness that they need to be a steward of that level of great wealth. So if you haven't read Accept Your Abundance, I'm going to challenge you to do that. Listen to some episodes, excuse me, in my Power Prosperity podcast. We've got to uncover any programming you have on a subconscious level that money is bad and rich people are evil and it's spiritual or noble to be poor. We got to blow those up and replace them with beliefs that empower you. So, step one, give yourself permission to be wealthy. Step number two, understand the infinite nature of money. If you want to do a deep dive in this one of the earlier lessons, and they're all on my website, randygage.com/prosperity-livestream, if I remember correct. But just look for a banner there's a little banner in the middle of the page on the homepage, watch Randy's live streams, and that has the details for the upcoming next episode. And then it's got an archive of all the old shows. And you'll see one there about prosperity being infinite, because money is just a form of exchange, right? It's a medium of exchange. It doesn't have inherent value in and of itself. The value of money is directly equivalent to what you're willing to trade it for. So if you're willing to pay $150 for those primo seats at the Guns N' Roses tour, then that $150 is equivalent to that seat that you bought at the concert, right? And whether you buy a Lexus, whether you give it to the dentist to fix your root canal, whether you buy a new laptop, if you go on a vacation, what you're willing to trade your money for tells you the inherent value of that money to you. The money in and of itself is infinite, right? Because money is basically just a meme. It's an agreed upon mind virus that we say, okay, the US dollar is pegged to the euro at this amount, this day of the week. And 10 days from now, the euro and the dollar may be pegged at a different level of relationship to each other. Those are memes. Those are just agreed upon things. So the central bank, the Federal Reserve, people like this put out rankings. And so we say it's worth that. But the actual prosperity is created by solving problems, adding value, and envisioning possibilities. There's no limit to the amount of problems that you can solve, or the possibilities you can envision, or the value that you can offer. So there's no limit to the amount of money that you can attract into your life. It's determined solely by your decision, your commitment, your willingness, your action to solve problems, add value, and or envision possibilities. So money is like love or hugs. The more you give away, the more you can receive back. Because remember, the money in and of itself is not the thing you want. If it was, you would just be sitting in the wilderness somewhere with all the money you earned buried in the dirt underneath you, right? And you'd be hoarding it, on top like a dragon guarding its gold coins. You didn't hoard all the money you got. You immediately went and traded it to have a home to live in, or a car to drive, or an iPhone to watch this lesson on, or Taylor Swift concert tickets, or whatever you decided to trade it for, right? So it's infinite. When you give someone a hug, that's not one less hug. When you give someone a hug, you get a hug back. It's continually replenishing itself. And take a trip through my blog and you see a lot of posts about this money being infinite. All true forms of prosperity: empathy, love, hugs, money, they're all infinite. So it's really important you understand those two premises before we get anywhere else to these other 8 more which I'm going to say these are the action step ones. They're part of the process that it takes to build wealth. So let's look at those. So I'm going to give you 8 more. I'll start them at number 1 again. So you got 2 preparation steps and then 8 action steps. So step number 1, some of you are not going to like this at all, is live on less than you earn. This is fundamental. You have to do that. You can't just keep saying, okay, I'm going to keep trying to get a better job and a better job and a raise and another raise, and eventually I'm going to have higher net wealth. Because if you live on everything you earn, you will never develop wealth. At some point, you got to have the guts, the tenacity, the self-discipline to bite the bullet and say, I will live on less than I earn. If I earn 100%, I'm going to force myself to get by and live on 85% of that or 90% of that. And so then I will take 10% or 15% and I will devote it to growing my wealth, growing my net worth. Okay? Step number 2. Create a get out of debt plan. There are cases where credit can be very helpful, right? We can use credit to leverage our buying power. So we could buy a apartment, a tiny apartment building for $1 million and only have $100,000 cash, and we might get a mortgage for the extra 900,000, and then we would have extra units in that apartment building which we could rent out. So that would be an example of using credit or leverage or debt, using debt to create wealth. And there are ways to do that, and I'm not against that. What I'm against is having car payments for your car. What I'm against is having mortgage payments for your primary home. What I'm against is having credit card debt, installment debt. You're buying a furniture on credit. You're buying a television set on credit. That is the horrific uses of credit, because debt is a prison, and it's best if you escape that prison as quickly as possible. So this step 2, it's really get a notepad out. You can do this old school, just a ledger, a notepad. Okay, how much do I owe Visa? How much do I owe MasterCard? How much on Discover? Do I have a furniture loan, a car loan? And just really listing all of your debts. And then to be smart, go and look at how much the interest rate is. Some of these are very low or zero interest rate loans, and some of them are ridiculously high credit cards at 30%, you know, worse rates than you'd get borrowing money from the mob, right? So you got to create a plan. And again, if you go to my blog and Google get out of debt, you'll see a plan there for that. So you look and you say, okay, so part of, I've agreed to live on less than I earn. That was step one. So step two, I'm creating a get out of debt plan. So that means I want to grow my wealth, but part of that plan may be, hey, the best way to grow my net worth to begin with might be to pay down some of this debt. So, and might not, by the way, if you got an opportunity to invest, I don't know, if Kevin Rose called you and he said, we're starting a new DAO, and we're taking in people membership in it, and it takes this much to join it. You know, in other words, if you really had, if Elon Musk called you and he was starting a new company, he was taking investors, you might say, wow, here's an opportunity where, you know, I'm going to put $1,000 in this and I could 100 times my investment. So it might be better for me to put $1,000 into Elon Musk's new venture or Kevin Rose's new venture and turn it into 100,000 than it is to pay $1,000 down on the 20 grand that I owe Visa, right? There's cases. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to be a critical thinker. You have to use discernment. And of course, know that every investment looks like $1 million. Every investment tells you, you know, you're going to get rich with this. You can't just buy into hype. You have to really be mindful. And we'll talk about some ways to do that. But overall key, you actually create a plan. Okay, how much am I going to invest into growing my wealth? How much am I going to invest into paying down my debt? And when can I get out of debt? What's the date what's my plan for how long it will take me to pay off all my consumer debt and be debt free? And I promise you, you will never feel wealthier than the day you become debt free. It don't matter if you make $1 million, if you make 10 million bucks, I'm sure 100 billion, you won't feel as wealthy as you do that first day when you pay off the last debt that you owe. Step three, create a net worth goal. Okay, give yourself a target. This can change and probably will change over time, but what is the amount that you could say, okay, I really feel that I would have financial freedom if I had 10 million euros in my net worth, or $10 million, 20, whatever the amount is. Set a goal for that. Give yourself a target. And then we're going to apply the law of compounding to see how we can get there, you know, faster. Now, number 4, this is one of those steps that, again, it's a what to do, not a how to do, because this is really important. Step 4 is develop financial literacy. Now here, I'm going to give you, there's 3 blogs of mine that are really specific and in-depth in this area. And they are linked to each other. So I'm going to ask Jorge or Jose or Paula, somebody type this in the comments. Beat Your Burn Rate is the name of my blog on that subject. That's the first one, and it links to the next 2. So I have 3 really in-depth, meaty, information-dense articles on how to become financially literate, how to understand how the money game works. And you have to understand how the money game works, because that's the only way you escape the matrix. You got to know the rules, the systems, the processes that are being used to keep you broke, to keep you in debt, right? So it starts on my blog, randygage.com. And for you guys listening, don't worry, even though you can't see the link, just go to randygage.com, click on the blog, and then type in Beat Your Burn Rate in the search bar, and you will find it. And so you're going to develop literacy. Okay, what are stocks? What are bonds? What are cryptocurrencies? What are NFTs? What does a financial statement look like for a business? What should a personal financial statement look like for a person? Here's the goal I want you to get to. This was an objective I set a long time ago, and it's so empowering for me, and it can be empowering for you. I want to wake up every morning wealthier than when I went to sleep the night before. And that can only happen, really, for most people, is when you become financially literate, when you learn the rules of the game, so you know how the game is played and you know how it's stacked against you, because it is stacked against you. If you say, yeah, because of my ethnicity, because of my religion, because of where I'm born, because of my education, it's harder for me. There's systemic bias against me. Of course there is. Of course there is. There was systemic bias against me, okay? A middle child of a single mother raised us knocking on doors, selling Avon. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college. I didn't have connections. I was in jail for armed robbery at 15 years old, teenage drug addict, teenage alcoholic. Of course, the system was stacked against me. So, of course, I could have said, it's not my fault. I never had a chance. But I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted to be wealthy. So I found a way to use the game against itself, and you have to do the same thing. Number 5, outline your wealth building strategy. And again, the second part of these blogs that I told you about, that will kind of give you a lot more information on how to do that. But basically what we're talking about is, okay, how much a month are you going to commit to building your wealth? And then the key is putting that money to work. The most important dynamic we're going to talk about, and this really comes into play on step 5 and step 6, is you work for money or money works for you. Which category are you in? If you work for money, you're probably not very wealthy. If you have money working for you, you have a much stronger chance of building great wealth. So that's what number 5 is, outline your wealth building strategy. And then step 6, develop your financial investing philosophy. Develop your financial investing philosophy. That's step number 6. So what this is about is really percentages in categories. The categories of investments that you're going to make in growing your wealth. So again, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm just talking for your information and entertainment purposes. I break my portfolio down into 3 categories: low risk, low gain. Things like certificates of deposit, municipal treasury bonds, stuff with very low interest return on investment, but they're very low risk that they're going to go to zero. The second category is moderate risk, moderate gain. This is where I'd put real estate. I'm a big believer in real estate. I love stocks I look for companies that are well managed, that have future growth potentials, have kind of built a moat around themselves. They've created a brand, right? So like a company like Shopify, if you look at Square when they come out, if you look at, I don't want to get into, again, recommending the individual stocks, but this is what I call the blue chip stocks, or the more safer, reliable stocks that we don't expect to crash and go to zero. Those are moderate risk, moderate gain. And then we have the higher risk, high gain. That might be oil wells, treasure hunting, right? If you back somebody who's on an exploration because they heard that this certain ship sunk in a 50-mile area of the ocean and there was $2 billion worth of gold bullion on board or whatever. That's high risk, but high gain. And at this point, that's where I'm putting cryptocurrencies and NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Very high risk, very high reward. If you've read my recent blog on the subject, I expect a big crash in crypto. It wouldn't shock me at all to see Bitcoin go below 5,000 again. I think the biggest crash will come in NFTs. I think there's a 99.9999999% of the NFTs being offered today, and this is June, the first week of June 2021. 99.9999 are garbage. They're just going to go to zero value. They're going to be worthless. Okay. Now, some of them will not. So I'm not telling people to not do anything in NFTs or not do anything in cryptocurrencies, but I do expect, and I'm bullish on both of them. I think NFTs are the future. As a professional speaker, as a professional artist who does books and videos and things, I think the NFT smart contracts and the royalty arrangements that can come from them are going to be the future for people who are in my business. And I do believe that ultimately there will be two large cryptocurrencies in the world. One will be the accepted one by banks and financial institutions, which they're forced to accept. And there will be another one, which I anticipate will be the black market one, which will be run primarily by criminals, but also used by people in countries with totalitarian governments, communist governments. Like if you were in Venezuela right now, you would love your money to be in a cryptocurrency outside of the control of your crazy nutso government that you have there at the moment. So I don't take this broadcast to say I think NFTs and cryptos are bad. I don't. I just think they're going to crash before they go up. The belief in crypto right now, if you interviewed 100 people on crypto Twitter, 100 out of 100, at least to me, it seems, would say, yes, it's going to go up and it's going to go down, but the floor is always higher. So it's going to go up, and then it's going to crash, but it's going to crash at a floor that was higher than the last crash. And then it's going to go up and up and down and down, and then it's going to crash, but the floor is going to be higher than the last one. I don't believe that. I believe it can go back to the basement. I believe Bitcoin can go back to under $5,000. And I actually expect it to. And if and when it does, I'll probably buy more Bitcoin, right? Because I do see it going back up. There are NFTs that I'm exploring that I think will be amazing investments. Right now, let's be real. These are high risk, high reward. So what you've got to do is to develop a philosophy, which is, okay, what percent of my holdings am I willing to put into a high risk category? What percent should be in the middle risk category? This is a philosophy that you have to develop. I'll tell you where I used to be. I used to be, okay, I want 50% in low risk, 25% in medium risk, and then I'm willing to put 25% in the high risk stuff. As an example, how to start. But your philosophy and mine has changed. I'm more, the horizon in front of me is much closer than the horizon behind me, right? I'm 62 years old. Some of you guys watching this are 22 years old. You have the horizon behind you is a lot closer than the one in front of you, as long as you don't get run over by a bus or have a meteorite drop on your head. So your philosophy should be different than mine. You've got a much bigger runway to build your wealth. So, and it's all going to depend on your goals. What is that, the goal that you set at step 3? Is it 10 million? Is it 100 million? Is it 2 billion? Right? That's going to affect what is your philosophy. So I can't give you what percent to do what, and I wouldn't even if I could. Because I think that's something that you should do mindful thinking about, and develop the financial literacy. And once you are financially literate, then you can develop your philosophy. Step number 7 is open up investment accounts. Now, for you guys in the United States, we're blessed. We got a couple of things that other places in the world don't have. One is the Robinhood mobile app. And one is Wealthfront, which is machine learning, basically automated investing, where algorithms are investing your money and figuring out the tax penalties and tax advantages when you make profits and compensating. So now, for example, my Robinhood account, and this is really important, don't gloss over this. I have an account with Robinhood. My investment profits, my ROI, are like 5 times higher than my Wealthfront account. The Wealthfront is the machine learning automated robo-advising. A lot of people call it robo-advising. So you say, why don't I take all my money out of my robo-advising and put it in my Robinhood account where I'm picking the stocks? Because in my Robinhood account, I picked stocks like Shopify, which I mentioned earlier, up there in Canada, just brilliantly run. The service is perfect. I mean, the future, they've got a moat around. They've got all the things that make me feel like this is a strong, safe harbor for my investment, where I will be able to multiply my money and, multiples of my money. Again, see, I'm tempted to talk other things, Desktop Metals is another company I'm in, but I don't want to get into all that. But in other words, I see companies where I say, wow, I think I could get 10x on that. I think I could get 50x on that. But I'm not so foolish to take all of my money out of Wealthfront and my precious metals and my real estate and my digital assets and put them into, some hot stock, because that's how people lost everything with Bernie Madoff. That's how people go broke, because they get some high risk but high reward. The rewards are really good, so they take everything out of it, all their other categories, and they dump it into that. And then the stock market crashes, or the oil price craters, or whatever happens, and they lose everything. You don't want to be in that situation, right? So you want to diversify your portfolio, and the way you do that is creating a philosophy of, okay, how aggressive am I building my wealth, and how tolerant am I of losses, of going backwards? And then when I take that philosophy, how can I put that together into a plan that I think will get me to where my goal is? So they're just available. Robinhood and Wealthfront are just available in the US. But if you are in the US, go to my blog, the Beat Your Burn Rate blog, because I have links, affiliate links that you can click. So with Robinhood, you will get a free share of stock if you use that link. And then with, there might be some other goodie in there, I don't remember. And then with Wealthfront, you'll be able to get your first $5,000 managed for free. if you use those links. So unfortunately, I know they're not available in other countries, but this is where becoming financially literate will help you, because you will get in chat rooms with people and you will find what might be the equivalent of those apps in your country. Or some of you guys will be watching this in 2024 and those apps may be available in your country. And then finally, the 8th step is set an evaluation timeline. Not a one-time thing, but an ongoing thing. In other words, when I buy stock, I pick a company for the reasons that I shared with you earlier, and then I don't look at it. I don't have an update on Robinhood to send me the stock tickers. I never look at the stock tickers online. I don't care about any of that. Everything I'm doing for long term. So I set it up and I say, okay, every 3 months, I'll go check my accounts and see, do I want to, wow, this stock is really going up. Do I want to sell off and get some profits on that and put it in something else? Or, hey, do I think it's going to keep going up? What are the market conditions that cause that? Should I buy more of that stock? So whether it's a crypto, NFT, stock, bond, savings, certificate of deposit, everything, you should just evaluate it. But don't do it daily. Don't do it because some idiot is on CNBC or MSNBC, whichever, Bloomberg Business or whatever, and they're pitching a company and you just, I'm selling this and getting that. There's 500,000 other people watching that same show and they're all going to do the same puppet behavior. You want to be zigging when everybody's zagging. So don't get influenced by the Twitter mobs. Use your discernment, use your critical thinking, create a plan and stay with that plan. All right. Paula, if you would put up the slide, randygage.com/go. This is the page where you can support the show. I told you it's a for-profit prosperity ministry. I run this like a 12-step program. I feel it should support itself. If you are getting value from the show, I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. 1, share it. Pick 2. If this episode was really helpful to you, please send it to 2 or 3 friends who you think can get out of it. And then I do all this training is done on a love offering basis. randygage.com/go. You can PayPal, Venmo, debit card. However, I have people who tithe because this is the source of their spiritual nourishment. I have people who treat it like a seminar and they send $30 a week or $40 a week because that's what I would normally charge for a course like this online. And then I have many people who send $1 or $5 or $2. And those people are near and dear to my heart too. If you really can't afford, I want the show to be available for everybody. So again, if you just send $1 just to show me, hey, I get value from it. I'm watching you. I love what you're doing. Here's the best I can support it right now. So thank you for that, everybody who supports the show. As I told you, it's a thought experiment. I'm going to see where this goes and if the world is ready for this kind of thing, or if I'm better to devote my energies in some other channel. I haven't even set up the topic for next week, so I can't even give that to you yet. But I'll be thinking about it on the plane ride home. And then it'll be on my website. We'll put it up Saturday night, always list what the next lesson will be the following week. So again, this happens every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern US time. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for sharing this show, supporting the show. I'll see you all next week. Peace.